You may be physically alive, but your consciousness is being suffocated. You can't plunge properly into subconscious and rise with wisdom. And you can't intuit because you're too busy with worldly things. Namaste, sisters and brothers. Today we'll take up the third aspect, ego, ahankar. How ego or ahankar is playing its vital role in whether or not the expansion of evolution of consciousness occurs. Ego is often seen as the bad guy by spiritual practitioners of all traditions. But ego is also essential for our evolution. It is the active function of the mind, the doing, thinking function, and we need it in every aspect of daily life, even to have craving to evolve. It gives us our identity. Then where have we gone wrong? Let's see. In Hindi, multiple phases of ahankar or ego are discussed. Swabhiman, Garv, and Ghamand are some of the examples of various phases of ahankar or ego. Ego manifests in many ways. For example, in a music concert, when suppose Shashank, the great flutist, is playing his flute, and it gives him so much of joy, and the audience reciprocates accordingly. But as an artist, he will not be happy unless he surpasses his previous performances. If I had my performance yesterday and today also I perform at the same level, I will not be happy. I like to surpass my yesterday's performance. The manifested ego makes me perform well, but to think that no one can play flute better than myself is not a welcoming manifestation of ego, that nobody is better in this whole city. I am the best. That is ahankar, which falls under the category of Ghamand, arrogance. Ego can be our best friend in helping us outperform our own past records if we are finely tuned within ourselves. If it is used wisely, like all other faculties, it serves us very well, like any other resource, but it is often misused, and this is what we commonly refer as being egotistical, arrogant. When ego is used for selfish purpose, we become arrogant and self-importance takes over. Whereas if we constantly refine the ego, consciousness develops very rapidly. What does it mean to refine the ego? How to? During our spiritual journey, as desires are dropped, we enjoy some level of freedom and joy. Haven't you seen it? We all have experienced. As we move further, there is this tug of war due to demand of absolute saranagati or anuprapanna. More and more of this anuprapanna, lesser will be the burden of ego. Now let me explain to you what this anuprapanna is all about. Anuprapanna, if you break this word down, anuprapanna, it has two parts. Anu means to follow. Prapanna, saranagati, surrender kind or submission with reverence. It is not a forceful or enforced level of submission. It is something that comes from within, from your heart, that I need to reverentially take saranagati, the feet of the Lord, and follow it consciously. So what happens then under the circumstance when Lord is allowed to precede, then we will be completely rid of burden of my I-ness. This allows me to experience total bliss. Now, the burden of my I-ness, burden of ego is gone. So you'll have absolute bliss. Earlier, we were burdened with desires. That prevents us from being joyful. Later, it is our ego that burdens us and that prevents us from enjoying bliss. You see the difference? Desires preventing joyful state and ego preventing blissful state. Nothing wrong in thinking yourself to be great, but always remember that the person in front of you is greater. In this way, we can keep our ego in check. By refining the ego and becoming more and more sublime, humble, consciousness will expand infinitely.
Someone came yesterday talking about her mother. She was telling me, I'm too much attached to my mother. So I was asked her, what is wrong with it? She is your mother. Who else would you be attached to otherwise? In Sahaj Marg, we have a different meaning to non-attachment and detachment, the so-called fundas of yoga literature. We don't believe in this sort of a thing. Mother is a mother. Shower your love as much as possible, maximum possible. Even when you disagree with her, do what she wants you to do. Full-yard, as they say. And following her, obeying her, is not going to hurt us. It may be a slight inconvenience, but you'll make her happy. And we learn this sort of love from mother, and then we can replicate this with others. But if I'm not able to share this love with mother, how am I going to replicate it in my community? That's why in Sahaj Marg we recommend a family life. We don't become monks and run away from the society. We try to lead a well-balanced life, performing our duties very well rather. Attachment and detachment are some of the most misunderstood concepts in yoga. My Guruji never recommended total detachment from worldly affairs. He only said to avoid undue attachment. He in fact encouraged to integrate both spiritual and material aspects of our existences. Without a certain level of attachment, you cannot fulfill your worldly duties, which are stressed so much in Gita. It is only undue attachment that entangles us. To be born as a human does not automatically make us human. Rather, it gives us the potential, possibility to become fully human. Having become fully human, we gain new potential. New horizons open up in front of us. We can go further and become divinized. So from animal humans, we have the possibility to become human humans and then divine humans. Divinity is at the core of all beings. In that sense, the idea of divinization is absurd. But to unite with that divinity and manifest it at all levels is something else entirely. When we make our lives so complex and impure, failing in our duties and responsibilities that rids us or deepen us with a lot of guilt, it's like a man being tied up with a stone, a big rock, and allowed to swim in the ocean. I can't even swim without any weight also. But once you put a rock on the body and ask me to swim, you're going to die. You'll be killed. And that's what is happening with us today. You may be physically alive, but your consciousness is being suffocated. You can't plunge properly into subconscious and rise with wisdom. And you can't intuit because you're too busy with worldly things. That does not mean that I have to escape from this world. No, that will add more guilt. Suppose I'm unable to look after my parents, my families, and escape into forest and to tapasya. That will only add weight to my guilt, escaping my responsibilities and duties. The path to higher level of consciousness is enlivened and intensified with love. More we love, more we become compassionate, kind, altruistic, loving. Then the consciousness will be so free, it will fly like a bird. Such individuals with such a free level of consciousness are the change makers, not only of themselves, but also of the family members and communities. And their presence, just mere presence, even without speaking, speaks volumes. Because they carry a certain level of vibrations. We have a field, the way these planets move around because of this gravitation. We also carry our own level of gravitational pulls that either can attract or can repel. These vibrations are set into motions and intensified only through our consciousness. Purity intensifies and refines our vibrations. Dense, complex, heavier vibrations spoils our consciousness. Anytime we go against the heart, we always face misery. Every time we agree to heart and do the rightful thing, we find contentment and peace. Through meditation, our heart becomes clearer, and the courage to follow the right decision automatically just tags along. Often we know what I'm doing is wrong or what I'm going to do is right, but the courage gives way. But meditating on the heart, in French they call heart as the core, the heart, meaning courage. Man is no man without courage, and he has no heart. Man without courage has no heart. What is the use of heart without courage? So clarity and courage, they speak louder and automatically, in a very sahaj way, in a very natural way, when we embark on spiritual path, guided through divine grace, through transmission, through pranahuti. Little by little, we purify ourselves. To the extent we can tolerate that purity, to that extent we will attract God's grace. So I should have that intense desire in my heart for extreme purity all the time. So much that God remains helpless, that I have to descend into this fellow's heart. I will not be polluted there in such an environment. So our body, our mind becomes like a temple, worshipable. You yourself will start worshipping yourself. It's a laughable matter, but it truly happens that you are now embodiment of God.
Ever wondered how past impressions shape your present life? Click on the video to explore the impact of samskaras and how to transform them.